I'm trying to get the narrative. Mandar, did you leave me some information on your speech? Hello? Hello?
Can't hear you, Mandar. Your microphone is either not hooked in or something's taking it over.
Okay.
No, cannot hear you, Mandar. Do you have?
Hello.
There you go. Good job.
So sorry for that. Today I'll be continuing my Pathways program. So current project I'm will be speaking on is managing online meetings. And I will be working on my objectives of improving voice modulation, getting better at eye contact, and performing speeches on better time management. Just give me a second to start. All right. Good evening, everyone. Respected fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. It's been almost 1.5 years since we have been facing pandemic, and I don't remember the time when we were meeting in person. Frankly, when I joined ASU for the first time, the first semester was very jovial, and we had in-person meetings, if any one of you remember, and that was the best time I had. But since the pandemic outbreak was caused, the university announced itself that we will be closing down all the public premises and institutions, and everything will be online. I was partly happy at that time because I was scared of Toastmasters meeting, and I felt that now I will not have to prepare for any speeches anymore for at least a time being. But we had the advantage of technology, and Zoom meetings were there to save all of us. And I was able to thrive on the fact that I was able to continue on preparing on my speeches. So the point here is that as a system, our club was anti-fragile. What does that mean? We all have heard that there is fragility in a cup of a glass which falls off the table and it breaks down. And it also happens when we say that things are fragile, but they doesn't allow any kind of stress, chaos, or any kind of disorder in them. It can relate to any human being who is not emotionally stable and just tend to break down when anything serious happens with them. So the point is that we should always try to embrace the anti-fragility, which means that whenever something happens, we don't only not break from it, but we try to improve from those circumstances. So coming on to the idea of performing online meetings, what we did was we went on practicing it for quite a long time, that many of us are now perfect in organizing it and executing it from the comfort of their own homes. So some of the best practices in organizing public speaking is, all of us know that it has a well-defined agenda, or performing tasks within a well-defined timelines is all that we know, just because that we were anti-fragile and we had the tendency to improve ourselves over the time. This is one of the facts that Nassim Taleb Nicholas, a Lebanon American essayist and statistician who wrote in his book, The Antifragility, Things That Gain from Disorder. He says that antifragility is something which can help you to a certain extent. Consider an example that whenever you go to the gym for a workout, there is no growth unless you tear your muscle. When you tear the muscle, it tends to expand, and there is a growth in your muscle just because you try to make an effort and embrace the pain. The main idea behind this ideology is that you have to understand that stress is not bad, in the same way that extreme stresses are also not that good. For example, if you say that if you are falling out of a 40-foot high building just because you will be embracing a pain, that will not suffice to the cause of what you are going behind. So the idea behind this is I want all of you to bear that pain is not bad at all, but at the same time, we should try to learn from the chaos, stresses, and disorder in our lives. Whenever we are dealing with any kind of failure in our lives, I want all of us to think back that what we can gain from it and embrace the idea of antifragility. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and most importantly, Mandar. Thank you for your insight on the speech that you gave tonight. I'm sure a lot of people were in the same frame of mind that you were as it related to giving speeches when we were at the ASU building. I know it's, when you're relatively new to a group, I know it's a tough thing, and getting familiar with Zoom calls like this and having this be a substitute for that. I think the main point you were trying to get across, which you did very well in your speech, was that this is a good substitute and will provide those that might have had difficulty speaking previously, giving them a better springboard, for lack of a better term, in when we get back to the regular meeting room and be able to speak much more clearly and effectively there. I thought you did a very good job of portraying what you were talking about. One of the things I am going to recommend, though, is I know that you mentioned, I believe you mentioned gestures and using those during your speech, and your gestures were down here below. I think when you're on a Zoom call like this, I think you want to have your hands more visible and, just have them be yeah, there we go. Just, in a place where people can see them and where they're more expressive. Most of the time you had your hands down below when you were gesturing, and it doesn't have the same effect. Obviously, I think we need to take that into consideration when we're on calls like this. You used to have quite a difficult trouble with the word in your speech, and I know you still had a few, but you've cut them back considerably, which is really good. And I've just noticed that just in the last speech that you gave. They do still show up, not as often as before, so work on that a little bit more and you'll have it completely taken care of. I thought that the concluding statement that you had in your speech was very good. It's very concise, very to the point, and you did a good job of summarizing just based on that. Very good speech, and look forward to your next one. Good job, Mandar. Mr. General Evaluator.